They say PSAV's Mark Ligda is an expert in mobile for meetings. I'm about to show him who the real expert is. Yo, Ligda!
Yo!
I understand you and your team are the king potatoes of mobile meeting apps.
Well, me and the rest of the mobile solutions team, we're sure working hard at it.
Really? If you're working so hard, how come you're the one standing and I'm the one mobile? Huh? Oh, oh, oh. Maybe we should just watch the next video.
Welcome. We're speaking with Mark Ligda, PSAV, and we want to talk a little bit about mobile event apps. Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Let's just go right to the heart of the matter, and I'll ask you, what's the current state of the art on mobile apps? Where are we?
What you're seeing now is a heightened demand for the use of mobile and meeting event applications. Early on, in the early years of mobile apps for meeting and events, you found it traditionally at large participants of based events, and now there's a greater demand for these mobile applications down to the 750, 500, 250 person meeting, as that their attendance base is now demanding a mobile app almost for their meeting or event. So we're seeing a lot of what used to be kind of an exclusive, almost gimmick type thing, now filtering down to all sorts of meetings and events, and it's just growing and expanding everywhere.
So it's not just the bright, shiny object anymore, it's actually almost a requirement, I guess.
It's almost a requirement and an expectation. A lot of meeting and events that we've been to, people come up and say, is there an app for this? So there's really starting to be a serious demand and expectation for it. Smartphone sales have just exploded in the past several years, and now smartphone sales have eclipsed that of traditional based computers. People are leveraging their mobile devices in more ways than ever before, and hence they want to have all that meeting and event information in their hand and at their fingertips at any given time.
And that's come up in a number of discussions we've had, whereas the level of expectations, it's no longer about building stuff, it's just they're expecting more. Yeah. And you have to have it.
Yeah, they want access, and what they really want access to is the content that you're going to see in some of these mobile apps. When you want to drive adoption to a mobile app, there are two key things that you want to have. You want to have a great user experience, so the app's got to be colorful, smart, and easy to use, but it's the content is really what everybody wants to get at. And those two things are really what drives adoption of a mobile app.
And you'd mentioned that the content is basically what used to be in the swag bag, I think you called it.
Absolutely, that's
but
swag bag.
Is it just that?
It's more than just that. There's a lot of things that you would get in that old swag bag that you can put in the mobile app, like your schedules, so everybody knows all the different agendas and floor maps and who's speaking and sponsors and things like that. But what you could never get out of that swag bag are some of the other like social media aspects or multimedia or audio and video streaming type of things that you can get into a mobile app now. So you can take all your traditional based materials that were printed and put them in a mobile app, but the mobile app allows you to expand and explode that out and really start harnessing all the other technologies out there, such as streaming and social media and things like that.
Right, and I mean, in the old days, we would print all these things you're talking about, which meant there had to be a long lead time. So
Absolutely.
You had to have the agenda finished because it had to be printed and inserted in the bags. But now with the app, does that also cut the lead times that people?
It cuts down the lead time a bit, but what the mobile app gives you the ability to do is always stay up to date, because once you develop that piece of printed material and you had it printed and collated and put in that swag bag and handed out, it was done.
Right.
You couldn't update that. The mobile apps, the content is always organic, meaning it can be updated and changed. So if there's a room change, a time change, a speaker change, whatever it may be, the app becomes the most up-to-date piece of information at your event.
Even during the event.
Even during the event.
Updated. Now, to that point, would a planner need to have a meeting professional have to have somebody who oversees the app?
It depends. In what we do at PSAV and mobile apps, we see meeting planners come in all shapes and sizes, from the meeting planner who really wants us to help hold their hand and walk through the entire process and support the app the entire way, to the meeting planner who totally embraces it and runs with it themselves, and we kind of can take a hands-off approach and just kind of oversee and moderate the whole thing. So it goes from one end of the spectrum to the other, but we always work one-on-one with a meeting planner and do a complete handhold the entire way to help them through the development, deployment, and after the event.
So to a meeting planner who's never had an app, What do they do? How do they find out how to build one? I mean,
Well,
they need
first,
outside help?
Yeah. First, I'd say get in touch with us.
Right.
We'll be more than happy to help you with
Or
anything
others.
like that, or others. And we would sit down and we kind of do a bit of a scoping discussion and talk about their meeting and event. Get some demographics on the people attending there. Just to kind of think, what was it they're going to want in a mobile app, and scope that out. And I always recommend to a lot of meeting planners for their first march into a mobile app, consider starting a little bit smaller. There are so many things you can do in a mobile app, and to avoid overwhelming people, I say start with some of the more basic stuff and drive that adoption that you really want. Give them a great experience and give them access to that content they want, and you get that adoption, and you can take the feedback you get from your participants at the event to scope a long-term mobile strategy. So keep it simple initially. Maybe start with your agenda, your schedule, maybe add in the social media things that people want, but you give them the core content they need and let them drive the path forward on mobile apps for you.
And what's the common myth that you hear from planners? Because you talk to planners of all kinds and sizes and shapes, as you say, and what's the myth that you most often run into?
We're breaking through the myth of the cost of the mobile app. Everybody thinks mobile apps are really expensive to get into, and maybe early on, as I said, a lot of the big associations and groups are the only ones who had it. But now mobile apps have evolved in such a way that they can be quickly developed and deployed, and they can be done at a price point that it really is beneficial to a meeting or event planner, that they can potentially realize some cost savings in the long term of the time and energy it might have spent to develop those printed materials and get those ready and get them shipped and have people to distribute them. So we're breaking through that whole cost barrier right now. And with the amount of mobile devices out there, just about everybody's got one now. So chances are, if you build a mobile app, you're going to hit good 80-90% of the market of people who show up to your meeting or event because they're carrying smartphones or smart tablets.
Any concerns about an app? Security concerns, or
all the apps are relatively secure.
Right.
Often you have global logins to prevent people from getting access to the app in certain parts of the app that they don't you don't want other non-attendants, non-participants to get to. So they're very safe and they're very secure. If developed properly, there'll be no worry about getting sensitive information out whatsoever.
Right. What are the steps that I think we can wrap up with this question mark, because it's been on my mind since we talked about how, I guess maybe I'm thinking how the smaller, mid-sized meeting professional where do they turn? What steps they have to go through? Where do they get direction on all this? Where to start?
When you engage us on it, we walk through you the whole way, help scope out your mobile app, because mobile app is about your meeting or event. So we always make sure it's your look, your feel, your brand for your meeting or event. And we talk about, the features and things you want and kind of build up that. And then we work with you on telling you, here's the content that you need to have in there. And you can start collecting that content and how that content gets managed.